Yes, lads, what is going on? And welcome back to the TriSports podcast. In this episode of the show, we are joined with Jack Fenlon, future Villanova athlete, current under 20 indoor 1500 meter national champion, 14:01 5K guy, and still only in sixth year. It's absolutely crazy how good this guy is. We had a great chat, and we've been trying to get Jack on the podcast for a while, but he's insanely busy, not only with his running, but of course with the leaving cert as well. Unfortunately, that's something that we all have to do, but he took the time to come onto the podcast, which I really do appreciate. And we had a great show, talking about everything from, one of his first Irish vests at Celtic Cross Champs back in 2020 to now reaching the World Under 20 5,000 meter standard, from his race last week with a 24-second PB, going all the way from 14:25 down to 14:01 on the Mary Peters track on the afternoon of 5Ks last week. It was an absolutely outstanding run from Jack. He mentions in the show he may not have many 5K races this outdoor year, but he has left himself wide open for sub 14 minutes in the 5K. 14:01 only in 6 years. Absolutely unreal from Jack Fenlon. Of course, he has gained that world standard for the under 20 World Outdoor Championships this summer. But I'll leave it up to Jack to tell you about how he's going to go about that. And as I mentioned, he is a future Villanova athlete. He will be heading over to join the likes of Sean Donoghue and Charlie Donovan, who we've had on the podcast. I mentioned to Jack in this episode that we'll have to get the three of the lads on once Jack is settled in and got a bit of training and racing under his belt over there as well. We also go into the National 1500 meter under 20 championships this year that Jack won, with an absolutely stacked race. Of course, Keane Gorham and Sean Cronin placed third in that race, second and third in that race, with a hugely stacked field. So this shows how good Jack really is. So once again, I do appreciate Jack taking the time to come on to the podcast, and of course we'll be keeping an eye on him throughout this outdoor season to see what he can do, hoping to make it to a national 1500 meter outdoor final, and as well continue to train well and race well before heading over to Villanova in the summer. He tells us why he's heading over to Villanova, how it came about, and what he's looking forward to. Of course, he also got the opportunity to race at the New Balance Grand Prix Indoor Championships in the Boys Mile. He got the opportunity to see what it's like to race over in America, and as well we also touch on his European racing as well for Ireland over the past couple of years. So much to unpack in this episode with Jack Fenlon. Without further ado, here is season 5 episode. I'm actually not too sure. I do apologise. It has been a while since we've posted an episode of a podcast. But one thing I do want to mention is that I will be heading over to Rome for the European Outdoor Championships. So much content going to be coming from that, from interviewing all of the great Irish athletes that are going to be heading over, as well as hopefully some of the international athletes that will be there, some of the big European names. So keep an eye out for all the content coming from that. That is on to be in at the beginning of June, so I'm really looking forward to that. But without further ado, less talking about the European Outdoor Championships and more talking about one of Ireland's future prodigies in the sport of athletics. Are joined in this episode of the podcast with Jack Fenlon. I hope you all enjoy. So we are joined with Jack Fenlon. Jack, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. I know you're a very busy man, not only from your running, but it's also coming up to leaving cert time for yourself. We were in chats of getting on the podcast, of course. You hit the mocks as well, so very busy period for yourself. But I'm absolutely delighted to have you on today. I do really appreciate it. For anyone listening in, I know I have a lot of listeners in Ireland, in the athletic scene, who do know who you are because you're running so well at the moment. But for maybe people listening in who may not know who you are, give us a quick introduction about yourself and a little bit about your running as well.
Yeah, so my name is Jack Fenlon. I live about an hour away from Dublin, so just outside Portlaoise in Ballybrittis in County Laois. I'm just turned 19 years old. I run for St. Albans, and just athletics to be my main sport at the moment. So I just keep going with that.
Yeah, I know there's many people, Jack, in your situation now, or lads that you're racing against who'll be in your situation next year who are trying to run at such a high level while balancing, unfortunately, the thing you have to do, which is the leaving cert and the mocks and studying. So, how are you kind of finding that at the moment? We'll get into it in the episode, but we saw you still running so well in Mary Peters last week, running 14:01 while studying for the leaving cert. So, how was all that going for you?
It's actually not going as bad as I thought. I thought it was going to be a lot. I know it's not fully into the leaving cert yet. I still have another 4 weeks to go, but I'm balancing it well. I think if you kind of get a good setup, a good timetable for yourself throughout the week, and get into a good routine, I think it's an not easy, but it's a pretty easy balance if you do it right. Like.
Yeah, definitely. It's nearly the hard thing is once you have the schedule set out and you stick to it, then it does become a little bit easier to digest. And of course, as well, the end goal from the Leaving Cert is heading over to Villanova, and of course we'll get your thoughts and perspectives and how much you're looking forward to that as well a little bit later on. But I suppose we can come away from the Leaving Cert for just a moment and get more into the running. Like I said, at such a young age, you're running so fast and at such a high level. Take us back to when you first started running. Was there any other sports you were kind of balancing at the same time? I know a lot of Irish runners are dabbled in the Gaelic and hurling as well.
Yeah, so I grew up in an area that would be pretty big for GA. So I would have grew up playing football, then obviously running on the side, playing soccer, done a small bit of hurling. But it was basically a good bit of basketball. So I was nearly doing everything, nearly every sport. But it kind of got to a stage when I hit maybe 15 or 16 where I just kind of had to start picking my sports. So I kind of narrowed it down to running and football. But then once I got to nearly 17, started to get under 18s and running, when it kind of like major championships start to come up, you kind of have to either focus on it or just pick football or running. It was a kind of a toss up, but I think running nearly played into my hands myself. Like I didn't have to choose; it nearly chose me. Like it was a pretty easy choice, to be fair. I wasn't the best football player, but I loved it. But I think I definitely prefer running now. Anyways, I'm happy I picked it now.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that choice because you're representing Ireland. Well, now you're going to the under 20 World Champs, and again we'll get into that throughout the episode. And but you've been representing Ireland on an international stage since 2020 with Celtic Cross, and a lot through your secondary school career as well. Was there a certain race or was there a certain time period where you realised you were good at running and you could get something out of the sport compared to the other sports, or was there a breakthrough moment, or was it just completely enjoyed it more?
I think it was always like since I started running early, like I was probably 8 years old. I started because my dad would have grew up running, my aunties, uncles, like my granddad all grew up running. So like running's kind of been in the family a long time. So I knew I had a good enough future at running just like through the family, and my dad loved it so much. But I think there was a main race that kind of made me realize that I'm a lot better at running than I actually thought I was. Like growing up, I wouldn't have said I was like anything special. Like I was pretty just an average runner merely. But then just started putting in a bit of work when I kind of got to 14, 15. Just started like wasn't doing anything major, just tipping away like 2 or 3 times a week, just kind of doing what I needed to do to keep fit, like for football and early. But I think it was the national under 16 cross. I think I was a year out of age, so I might have been under 15 or something. And I think I came like eighth, barely scraped onto that Celtic Cross team you mentioned. I think I was the last guy to get on the team, and I think that kind of really opened my eyes to like stuff you can kind of get out of running. Like, oh, I got a trip to Scotland and all, and that kind of opens up your eyes to what like the sport can kind of give nearly.
Yeah, definitely. The trips away are nearly what bring people closer to the sport, and as well, a lot of the lads that you were in that race in the Celtic Cross 2020, you're still racing against now, and would be quite close to even outside of running. So it's great to see how far both yourself and the rest of those lads have come. But it's 2024 now. That was Celtic Cross back in 2020. You were running even before that. How have you kept up such a good standard in running? How have you been so consistent and leading to the progress that you've seen to today?
Yeah, I think I put a lot of that down to my coach as well. Like, there's only so much thinking that I can do about it. Like, he was writing all the training from day one, literally. Like, but I think the main thing that kind of keeps it consistent that you're nearly running, not running, like running well the whole time, like nearly like all year round. It was more just like not like I wouldn't do any sessions that are like ridiculously hard. Like it's all kind of slow, controlled work. It's more just being able to stay consistent and just stack week after week after week. And I've touched wood, haven't been injured yet, anything major. So hopefully we can keep that away. But I think I put a lot of that down to my coach, him writing the training and saying like keeping it all consistent, making sure I'm not doing anything that's like making me not be able to run the next day because I'm too tired from a session. Like I've never had to do that really. Like everything's been controlled the whole way up really just because of my coach.
Yeah, no, that's what we've seen from definitely from you, like you said, since 2020, and now, this year with the world standard as well, under 20 world standard. So it's there is a lot of people out there who are training really really hard, and they're not able to stack week after week like you've been able to, and it definitely does show. We've spoken about the Celtic Cross Irish Fest that you got in there. But then, we've seen you. You've been running now for a couple of years on the European stage. Tell us a little bit about what you found the difference from your first Irish Fest at the Celtic Cross to then going and reaching the next level to running Europeans.
Yeah, I think there is a nice difference between the two races. Like the Celtic Cross was pretty relaxed just because we were so young. There was no pressure to do well or like I don't know about the guys who were at the front of the team, but for me, anyways, being at the back, it was just nearly being able to beat one Irish guy at it. Like so, there was no pressure at all. Was going into like the major championships. Let's say like my first one at the European under 18s. I remember being at that one with Harry, and that one was like really nerve wracking. It's a different stage altogether. Like the Celtic Cross was like maybe four countries: Scotland, Wales, England, Ireland, and all. But like the Europeans, you're racing against the best in Europe at that age. Like it is like when you think about it, it was a lot to kind of process when you first got picked and got selected. It's like, oh, I'm going to be racing the best in Europe here. Like it is pretty hard to like stay relaxed coming up to the race. But I think that was the main difference, just with nerves before. Like I know when you're younger, you get a bit nervous, but like I found that Celtic one just wasn't as nerve wracking as Euros. Like no matter how used to you get, like at European under 20s, it's still no different. Like it's always just nerves because you're going to be racing like the best, like going up against like in the under 18s, going up against Niels Laros, like who's going up in world finals now. You're like you just don't know how to process it. It's like you're against the best of the best here. Like
How has that mindset shifted for you now? We just seen you off the back of a 14:01 in sixth year, which is absolutely insane. Like it's so quick. Nearly gone sub 6 or sub 14 before you even head over to Villanova. You made world championship standard time now. How has your mindset shifted in terms of where you place yourself amongst other international athletes? Because going from Celtics to Europeans, like you mentioned, Jack, it is a big jump, and the nerves are different. But now, with how well you're running, both nationally, how has that shifted your mindset to where you place yourself amongst the best in Europe and the world?
yeah, so like even the European under 18s, like you go like it was a lot different going into that to say like it does give you a good kick. Like it's going in, you're like, oh, like I mightn't be like too far off a medal, but then after you're like I was a lot off a medal. Like you think it's a fine margin, but there is like to medal at Europeans, there's a fair lot of work put in behind it and a fair lot of talent you have to have. Like, but I think the experience really does change your like mindset to like the first one at the European under 18s in Jerusalem. Like that was a really good trip, and I think that opens your eyes. Like you got a good beating at that one. Like there was lads like Niels Laros just winning it at ease, like a double, and you realize then you're like these guys are insane. Like it does give you a kick to like, or I need to train that bit more. Or I need to do something different. I need to do what these guys are doing. Like you need to find out what they're doing, see what they're doing differently to what you're doing. I'm not copy them, but you need to take notes from them. Like what they're doing differently. And I think just putting that into training yourself makes a huge difference. Like I think a big difference was to go into altitude. I think that makes a massive difference as well. That like the likes of Niels Laros, the lads who were medaling at the Europeans, were all coming straight from altitude over to Jerusalem. Was the Irish guys like we were all just coming straight from Ireland, where it's like it is a big difference, but I think it gives you the experience, and I think the experience does give you a good kick on to try like train more because you can know, oh, I can make this championship, and there's more upcoming championships you can make. So I think the like running that one makes you want to make more again. So it does give you a kick on to get more championships behind you.
Yeah, no, definitely coming from altitude compared to, I suppose, some roads and some fields you have here in Ireland. You know what I mean? It is, and like you said, Jack, it is the margins, and they could be the margins that come down to between meddling on a European stage and not meddling on a European stage. But no, it's refreshing to hear at the same time, because a lot of people are too scared to say, well, we're just sticking to what we're doing, and that's it. But hearing that you are willing to look at what these lads are doing to be able to get to the level that they're running at is really, really good to hear. And I think some people are, I suppose, not willing to admit that. Well, it's definitely what you need to be doing to get to their level. But as well, not only have you raced against lads on a European level, you've also now raced against lads over in America as well. And like you mentioned, it's the first of many races over in America at the Boston Grand Prix mile race, the boys mile. Tell us a little bit about racing over in America against Americans. How was that entire experience?
Yeah, that I think that was one of the best trips I've nearly ever gone on for like running a race at a foreign country. Like that one was the stuff they got over there is completely different to here. Like just being able to go over to be like in an environment where there's so many like pros and so many like better guys than you, kind of like the Europeans, but nearly at a bigger level. Like you're in a hotel, like New Balance pay for everything. They put you in the hotel with all the people who are running the next day in the main Grand Prix. And like you'd be just walking through the hotel and you'd see likes of Noah Lyles or Fred Curley and Jake Whiteman, and you're like, it does give you a nice. It just shows you what it's like to be at the top level nearly. Just as a young kind of athlete, it does give you a good indicator of what's to come nearly. But I think that one was a really good experience. It is hard to kind of race at America when you first get over. Like I found I was pretty jet lagged going over, but like I think the experience from the race, like their racing, I found was completely different to racing here. Everything's just like they get a pacemaker and everything's just you have to go after that sub 4 mile, whatever. Like they would be very big into the sub 4 miles over there, and like their whole target of that race was just get one guy under sub four, and they did get one guy under sub four, and it was a ridiculous race. And like you see after like there is guys our age able to break 4 minutes per mile, and it was just really good to see and be able to be in the race where there was a guy break four indoors as a high schooler. Like
Is that what you feel is the next step for you? Is going, like, don't get me wrong, the talent here in Ireland over the past couple of years has grown so much. You're racing and training with lads like you have Darragh Donoghue, you have Harry Colbert, Callum Morgan, Nick Griggs. You've lads that are such a high level. But for you personally, is America kind of that next step where you become, a really small fish in an absolutely huge pond to push you over into the next level?
yeah, 100%. That's the one thing that like I think there's a big difference here. Like whenever I'm here in Ireland, like I train, there's like a small group of us down. Like I live like an hour away from Dublin. I'm not in college yet, whatever. And it is hard to kind of find a group to be able to train with that are like better than you. Whereas if you're in America, you're training with guys that are like running way quicker than you. There's some guys running the same times as you, but a lot of the guys are quicker. Like when you first get out into college, you're like you are what you said, like a small fish in a big pond. Like, and I think that's like a really good thing to have because it does drive you on. Like if you're training with guys better than you, eventually you're going to get to that stage where you're the same level as them or running the same times as them. Once you just keep training with them and get the week after week behind you, and even like the coaching over there is like, don't get me wrong, the coaching here is brilliant. But just over there, there's so many options with coaching and colleges, and the money over there is just outrageous. Like they just have way too much money nearly that like they
Yeah.
can put it into whatever they like. Like they just build a new track whenever they want. Now, not running's obviously you can still make it to the top, but like all them little things help. Like they're just like little 1%ers that are gonna help you get to the top at some stage. Like
100%. It's practically professional over there on the college scene. It's like professional here is literally just college over there. So it is like you said, the 1% of things like the facilities they have and having physio at hand all the time and anything you need whenever you need it. It's just it really seems like an amazing setup, and it does seem like for and especially Villanova, we've seen so many great Irish athletes go over and currently over there excelling, and which we will get into as well. But no, and as well the Grand Prix in the mile, the gear wasn't too bad either.
oh yeah, no, you get kitted out with gear. Like they just sort you out with everything. Like your hotel, your the gear is only a small bit you get with it, and they still just give you bags of it. Like it is a nice little 1%er to get with it.
Definitely, definitely. No, but Jack, look, that was one great race and one great experience you had in your indoor season this year. But we also seen you race in one of the most stacked races in Ireland this year so far, and that was the under 20 national indoor 1500-meter championships. That race was stacked to the absolute brim. Obviously, yourself and Keane taking first and second, and Sean Cronin taking third. But the lads that were behind you that finished fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh are lads that are used to winning races, used to leading them out and taking control. It was an absolutely stacked race, and it seems to be now rolling into your outdoor season with your 14:01 in Belfast last week. But tell us a little bit about that 1500-meter race. How were you feeling going into it with the amount of real talent in that race?
Yeah, I knew that race was a race we kind of targeted from a few weeks before. Like once Cross finished, like it was nice to try run a junior championships. Like you kind of only get them outdoors, and if you look back at kind of past results, it was nearly like you might have got one or two really good lads, but I think like that was one of the deepest fields they could have ever assembled into a national juniors. Like you had everyone who were like the top juniors in the country at the moment. And going into it, I knew it was like seeing the entries. I like this is going to be a very, very good race. So I knew like it was going to be a very hard race to win as well. Like the standard in it, like with Harry, Cormac, everyone, Keane, Sean, like everyone was running really well at the time as well. Everyone was PB in the summer before. Like everyone was just in ridiculous shape coming into it. So I knew it was going to be a tough one to win. So I kind of targeted from a bit out, got a race in before it and all. But just to win it was always really nice to win against guys like that. Like to beat guys like that was really good because they're all like the best in the country. So it was really good race. Like even the way it was ran, everyone like lots of people ran PBs in it as well, which is rare in a championship race, which was like really good to see as well. But going in, I was very nervous before because I knew it was going to be such a hard race to win just with the amount of depth in it. Like
No, it was absolutely stacked to the brim, like the lads that you mentioned there. Harry Colbert too had an unbelievable cross country season. Of course running at the World Cross as well, and Keane just behind you, a lad that we know is full of speed, and you got him with the kick over the last lap, but it was just a race really really open for anyone that having a race that stacked in. I know you mentioned there as well, Jack. It's kind of hard sometimes, especially in the outdoor season, to get a race that stacked because there's so many races going on, so many different distances that lads want to jump into. The confidence that you gained racing against them, the lads in the 1500 meters, like you said, best in the country. What did that do for you, for your confidence on a national level, especially going into the outdoor season?
yeah, so that was one of my like I think that was my first national title of over 1500. I won the 3K in that summer, but I think that like gave me a good confidence boost over the 15 because I never knew if I was like a good 15 guy or more of a like distance 3K 5K guy, but I think that kind of gave me that reassurance that like I can still run really good over 1500 and still have the kind of wheels for the end of the race. But it definitely helped me with the rest of my indoor season. Like that was the race that opened the opportunity to go to Boston, and like that one was the one that nearly that got me into that race. But I think that one carried me off well going into the AI Games 3K. Like I ran a massive PB at that one, and I think that one like gave me the confidence. Like that one was filled with talent as well. Like I had Callum and like Finley Daly, a load, Ephraim. and like it just kind of gave you that confidence just to like go after it, like because I didn't know if to go with the likes of Callum and all, Ephraim and all them, but like it does give you the confidence to kind of chase them down and kind of just go for it in that race. So it just gives you good confidence going into a race like that, like the next one on.
Definitely, but it is amazing that you can go to the Europeans and you can go over to America and race the best in the world and the best in Europe and the best in America at your age and still come back to Ireland and have such a strong field that is still pushing you really really hard. So no, it was I was there of course and it was an absolutely crazy race. It was really really good, and then as well you coming out on top. It was seriously a really really great race. So no, that like you said, that was one that you had targeted for your indoor season this year. How has that been one of the races that has been allowing you to run so well and carry that form into the outdoor season?
Yeah, definitely, because even I think that really helped training wise as well. Just obviously gives you the reassurance that you can still run well over 1500, have the good wheels to close. Like everyone ran really fast over the last 400 and 200. So it just gave me that reassurance that I can kind of stay with the guys like Keane and all over 800. Like they've good 800 wheels, so I knew they'd be kind of pressing you towards the last 200. So it was good to be able to stick in with them over the last kind of lap or two, and I didn't know if I had the wheels like they do. But it kind of just carried me into next races. But I found that gave me a really good kick on for training, because we wouldn't do a huge lot of like speed work or anything. So I kind of went into the race just off a lot of threshold, like, and just like doing a lot of zone work at the lower zone. So that kind of gave me like that nearly imitated a speed session for the next race. So then going into your 3K, you're nearly going through your 1500 in whatever 404, 405, and you're feeling that bit easier. It feels a lot more comfortable just after doing a 1500 a week and a half or 2 weeks before it. I found it really good in that way. It helps the next race. It makes you feel that more comfortable when you move up the distance. It just gets you, it makes you flow through halfway a lot nicer.
No, and talking about moving up the distance, we definitely seen you go from the 15 all the way into the 5K on one of the hottest days of the years. I know I had a couple of lads on my team down at the race, and they were saying the heat there as well. It was pretty warm at the afternoon of 5Ks on the Mary Peters track in Belfast, but it definitely didn't stop you from running quick, Jack, coming away with 14:01. What was it, like a 23-second PB, something along those lines, was it?
Yeah, 20, 24, 23. Yeah, it was a big enough PB. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. So tell us a little bit about that race. Was sub 14 on the cards for you? Was it a bit of surprise how fast you ran on the day?
Yeah, I think that was a pretty big surprise going into it because I ran the 14:24 in Armagh maybe 2 years before, and like I'd ran maybe two or three 5Ks in between them, and like they just didn't go as planned. It just didn't go well. Just either blew up or just didn't have the like kind of the strength for the second or third last K. Like, but going in, like just coming back from Font, I knew I was in good nick like going into it. So we kind of decided like I kind of wanted to run it maybe 2 months out, so that's why I entered. But then my coach was like, "Oh, we'll leave it. Just we won't run it just because I knew I'd have a lot of races throughout May with the schools and just with the IMCs now coming up and then the BMC. So I knew it was going to be a lot of races coming up. So he didn't really want me running. And then towards the end of Fontrenmo camp, it went very well. Like it was getting into good shape very quick. So he just decided just a week before, just right, we'll go and we'll give it a go. Like so I just went in with no expectations at all. Like I didn't have a clue. I didn't know if I was going to run 14:10 or 14:40. I didn't have any notions. Like so, just kind of went out with the pacers, and like there was a good pacer there, and Cormac Dixon and Neil Johnston. There was a good group of guys at the front. So I just got in behind and just got towed around. Like it went very quick. Like it didn't feel like we were moving that quick, but we were going quick enough. Like um, but I just found it was a very big kind of shock when you come over the line because I didn't know how quick we were going throughout. I couldn't hear splits or anything just because you were so focused on the race and all. So I just didn't know how quick we were going. But coming over the line when you heard like a 14:01, it was like a very big surprise because I wasn't even targeting to run a good 5K. Like the target for the season was just running 1500s and 3Ks. So to get a good 5K in at the start of the season was a very good, like a good promising start to the season anyways.
So sub 13 on the cards now, or sorry, sub 14 on the cards now on the 5K throughout the rest of the outdoor season.
Hopefully, I don't have any 5Ks planned yet, but if I can find a good 5K, maybe Morton Games or something along those lines, like I might, if there's a good 5K somewhere that I can get into where there's an opportunity, I'll take it. But I've none planned at the moment, anyways.
Well, look, it's there for you anyways. It's set up for you. So hopefully the next one you can jump into. It would be great definitely to see it at the Morton Games. It's one that usually does yourself get good depth, and I'm sure the likes of Ephraim and other international athletes will be there as well. Darren McElhenney comes for the 5K sometimes as well. So it is one that can have really good depth. But like you said, it's set up for you now, 14:01, and so hopefully we can see sub 14 throughout the outdoor season for you. But obviously, Jack, 14:01 was great, but then getting World Under 20 outdoor standard now for the summer was, I suppose, the cherry on the cake then for you.
Oh yeah, definitely. That one was a nice, like I knew a low 14 performance would have been a big shock to me, but just to kind of get under 14:04 the standard just made it that bit kind of nicer. But like there was a good bit of excitement after knowing I got a world standard, but there was also a bit of disappointment because I'm not able to go to the Worlds this year just because I start college the same week in America. So they kind of clash and it just doesn't really work to go over to the two of them. So it's a bit unfortunate, but it would have been very good to go over and get the experience in Peru at the World Championships and race against the likes of Kenyans and Ethiopians and the best like runners in the world basically at under 20 level. But just it was still nice to get the world under 20 standard in the bag, like because I was targeting maybe the 15 or 3 standard. So to get the 5, like when not really targeting it going into the race was a big bonus, really. Like it was a very good confidence booster for the rest of the season.
Definitely. So that's interesting. I actually didn't know that. So you won't actually be able to head over to the under 20 World Champs just because I was looking at it there. It is really late in August that they are taking place, and people will be starting to go back to the college and whatnot. But unfortunately, you won't be able to head over because is it clashing with your first week?
Yeah, so I start my first week. I think I have to fly over on like the 19th or 20th of August. So, and they're on like the very end of August. So I'd be only starting my first week of like orientation and setting up my dorm room and all over there. So like there's certain days where you have to do all that stuff. So it would kind of mess up a lot of that. And it's probably wouldn't look good if I didn't go to my first week of college in America, especially getting a scholarship and all. So it's unfortunate, but like it's not too big of a miss either because like realistically, like the world under 20s is such a high level, but it would have been very good to get experience out at it and going into college to race against like the best in the world at under 20s, just because it's my last year at under 20s as well, would have been a very good like opportunity, good experience to go to the world under 20s just when it's your last year at under 20s, because like probably won't get another opportunity like this until maybe world seniors or something, hopefully in the future, maybe in 5 or 10 years time. But like they're always very rare to come around the world championships, like.
Well, look, at least it's for a good reason at the same time, you know what I mean, with your opportunity heading over to Villanova. But as well, with that being said, if you take a look back to last summer where you were running European under 20 champs, this year now you got the qualification standard anyway for World Under 20 champs. So it shows as well, looking back on the last year, the work that's being put in is really paying off.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's nice to kind of progress from like I was years ago. I was just wanting to make an All Irelands even for cross country and track. So to kind of move from just trying to make an All Irelands to then making your Europeans and now being able to get the qualifying standard for Worlds for the future, like it's promising to show, like to see the progress that's like happening every year, just having that slow improvement. And it is a good, like, to know that I'm able to improve every year. And going over to Villanova, there's no doubt that you're going to improve even more just because you're adding to the training I'm already doing. So, and going under the likes of Marcus and Matt over there, it's like, it is really, really exciting. Like, I'm really looking forward to getting started over there because it is a really good, like, it's an exciting journey. And like, I am looking forward to see the improvement I can get from being there because them lads over there are running very well. The likes of Charlie O'Donovan and Sean Dunnoo, like they're all improving like mad every year. They're just getting that bit by bit off their 1,500 times in miles. So it is exciting to see what I can do over there in the future.
Definitely, definitely. No, when you do head over, I've had Charlie and Sean on the podcast, so I'll have to get the three Irish lads over in Villanova on as well.
Yeah.
Once you make your way over, but you know it's now unfortunately with under 20 worlds, you know, off the table. With that being said, 1401 making the standard is an absolutely amazing, insane achievement, and it's one that, you know, although you may not be able to make it to the actual champs themselves, you know where you stand in terms of how good you actually are and the level that you are at. What are now the main goals for the summer? I know you touched on maybe the Morton Games there. Of course, there's national championships, for your own age, or senior championships as well. What are you and your coach thinking the main targets are this summer?
Yeah, I think the main targets are kind of just to keep adding to the base, going over to America as well, like just keeping consistent every week and week. Because the main goal is to, like, obviously when I go to America is to run well in America for my 4 or 5 years I'm there, to get the best out of myself and get the best for the program over there. But this season itself, I'd say like the All Ireland schools would be a big target at the 1st of June. Like that would be obviously one of the championships your last year in school. They're always the big championships. Like seeing the likes of Charlie win that years ago, it'd be nice to kind of imitate what he done in his last year. Like if you look back at a lot of the winners from the past All Ireland schools in the senior 15, there was always past Villanova athletes winning it. So it'd be nice to kind of add to that list as well. And then on like a senior level, it'd be nice to try and make a senior final as well for the 1500, because I'd say like so Sean Dunu and Charlie would most likely be in it as well. So it'd be nice again to get into a final with the likes of them, just to be on the start line beside them before even starting college would be pretty exciting, and just be a good experience to be with them as well on the start line.
Definitely. So literally just keep on growing on the base that you've built from the indoor season, and as well your opener this outdoor season. It's all, you know, there's scope this summer for really, really competitive and fast running. But ultimately it's to be as good and as fresh as you can before heading over to America, really.
Yeah, exactly. Just to even be as fit as possible going over, because your first year you want to make a good impression and kind of get it off to a good start, because like a good start is half the work as well. Like so, it'd be nice to kind of go out and just to go out fit and make sure you're in good shape going out, and just to let them kind of take over from there then, like, and just to see progress and all that from out there. So it'd be nice to kind of go over just feeling good, and hopefully, like, you don't know if you're redshirting or not, but it'd be nice to kind of race your first year, just see what happens. Like, just go over in good nick and kind of just keep improving from there. Like,
Definitely, definitely. Well, look, Sean, we've touched on Villanova a little bit, a good bit throughout the episode here. Now, I suppose we can get as much into the nitty gritty of it, I suppose, as you're maybe allowed or want to talk about. As well, we know there's, you know, we've mentioned Sean and Charlie as well, and Villanova has been a college that has, you know, seen so many talented Irish athletes over the year go over and compete at. For you, kind of, was America always a goal for you? Was it always something you wanted to do? And was Villanova kind of always number one for you? Or was it through the process of, you know, talking to coaches in different colleges, you settled on Villanova?
yeah, so growing up, I always knew I wanted to go to America at some stage, just because a lot of, like, my cousin went to Adam State, Ava O'Connor, like, so it was nice to kind of grow up and see a lot of athletes go to America and get good success from it. And my dad kind of used to run when he was younger, and he never went to America. He just back then it was just hard to get a scholarship, but like you'd always kill for a scholarship to America back then. Like, so you kind of realize how lucky you are when you kind of get opportunities, when you get contacted by coaches and all. Like, it is a really good opportunity, and like it is a pleasure to get an offer from like the likes of Villanova and a good few colleges. But I knew growing up, I would have known the likes of Marcus growing up. Like, he's an Irish legend. Like, and even Eamon Coughlin, like, they all grew up going to Villanova. And like, maybe when I was 16, Villanova was a dream to go to. Like, I never thought that was a college that I'd be even able to get to the level to go to. And then once you kind of get the contact and you start going on calls with them, you realize that the dreams kind of turn into a reality. So it is very exciting, because they've so much history behind the program. But I think once I got the call to kind of start talking to them, I was really excited. I kind of knew that was one place I wanted to go. Um, I think what sealed it as well was, like, this time last year, I went on a visit to over to the college. just to meet the lads and like just to kind of see what it was like and watch them race at Penn relays and all. I think that definitely sealed it, because I think once I got over and met the team, like I realized like the team they're so driven and they're so like friendly. They're very open. Like none of them seem to have a bad attitude. Like they're all have only good things to say about all of them. And same with the coaches and the staff and all, and even the facilities. I kind of knew it felt like home. Like there was no difference really to there and here when it felt like comfort wise. Like it felt like it was right to go there. Like
Yeah, that's exactly what you want, because it's going over so far away from home, a complete new setup. If you feel like, the lads that are currently there are so closed off, it can really be a difficult place to settle in. But no, like we've mentioned as well, that the amount of Irish that we've seen come through that college, and I'm sure as well for yourself, having the likes of Charlie and Sean there, and having the Irish connection through the athletes on the team as well is going to be great for you and for them, for allowing you to settle in. Then once you get there, kind of in terms of racing and in terms of training, how do you think, has it been something that you've thought about in terms of going from Ireland, where you're the biggest and one of the biggest names going into most races, compared to when you get over there from the likes of training and racing, being someone who may not be as far up the pack as you may be here in Ireland?
yeah, I think it's a really good opportunity to mix with like say like the guys that are already on the team. To be even able to train with them is very good. Like they're all top class athletes. Like they're all winning Penn relays and all competing like at the top level at NCAA's. So I think the main thing going over, like you said, you're going from like being one of the like kind of top ones over here to going over there and being not the worst, but you're down at the bottom of the pecking order when you first go over. So I think the main thing is the one thing I'm looking forward to is seeing the progression. Like just say your first year, you might run an NCAA cross country and you might come wherever 150th. I think it's a good thing to have that in your back pocket for your next year, that you're able to improve. Like you might come 120th, and the next year you might come 80th, then 50th, then 20th, then 10th. Like just to be able to pick off numbers every year, I think that's like one of the main things. But I think the one thing that I'm looking forward to over there more than that what I've had to like experience here was the team aspect. Like the teams over there are very competitive, and I think they're very big into their team over there, which I'm really looking forward to, because I've like always been with teams playing football and soccer, but kind of at home in Ireland it's kind of hard to get a team environment like they do. Like they die for each other whenever they're running. Like so like I'm looking forward to being able to join the team and like be able to compete and score points for a team that big. Is looking like I'm just really excited for that. Like
And as well, you've been in a system here with your coach since you started running at a really young age, and it's worked all the way up until now. Is it gone through your head at all, that change in system? I know you mentioned having the team there is going to be a huge benefit for you. How do you think you're going to adapt to new training style, new training system, and of course the facilities are great as well? Do you think it won't be too much of an issue, or it won't be too much to maybe adapt to?
no, hopefully anyways, I think I should adapt like very easily over there, just like because my training I've been doing now has been nearly the exact same as what they've been doing. Just with like through conversations with the assistant coach and through the lads and with the coach Marcus, like you're able to kind of take bits. So I've just been doing bits that they've been doing now, just maybe a bit less, a bit slower, whatever, and just getting used to going over. So hopefully, whenever I go over, it shouldn't be too big of an issue. Like I think the only issue would just be like trying to settle in, but I think that should be fine. Like I wouldn't really get that homesick whenever I go anywhere here. Um, so hopefully, like I should adapt and settle in really well there. I think with Marcus being Irish as well, that'll like be very good help, just because it'll feel like you have someone there as well, and even having Sean, Charlie, like the other Irish lads there, it does kind of make it feel like home. And even there's a lot of Irish people just scattered around the college who aren't even on the running team, who are just like Irish in general, who are there just as a very big Irish heritage in Villanova. So I think it should feel like home. Like I don't think it should really be a big adapting kind of thing towards it. Um, and even the lads on the team who aren't even Irish, and even the assistant coach Matt, like they're all so welcoming. Like going on the visit, I just didn't want to go home whenever I went on the visit. Like I just wanted to stay there forever. Like so, looking forward to it.
Definitely. Well, Jack, look, not only do we wish you all the best with Villanova as well, but off the back of a 14:01 5K, it's looking to be a good summer for yourself in terms of racing, and definitely we're really hoping to see in the 15, hopefully a senior 1500-meter final this outdoor season up against future teammates of Charlie and Sean as well. So big summer set up for yourself. Honestly, best of luck heading over to Villanova as well. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on you over from here in Ireland and seeing how you're getting on. But of course, as the years go on over there, we'll definitely see it move up the ranks in terms of where you stand in terms of American standards as well, because you've been doing such amazing running at such a high standard over here in Ireland. So thank you so much for coming on the show, and we're really looking forward to see how you run this summer as well.
Perfect. Yeah, that's brilliant. Thanks very much for having me on the podcast. It was a pleasure to be on it.
No pressure at all. And no, look, best luck in Villanova as well. I'm sure, like I mentioned, we'll definitely have to have yourself, Sean, and Charlie on once you're settled in and get a bit, of running and racing and training under your belt over there. And we'll have a chat with the trees. But again, thanks, Jack, for coming on the show, and for everyone watching and listening at home. Really do appreciate it, and we'll see you all next time. Bye bye.